Welcome to the Health Science Coach Podcast. My name is Drew Garner. I am a health science and physical education teacher here at Turner High School. My objective is to provide information to students about different healthcare careers and explain how these professionals got to where they are in their careers. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now let's dig in. Today, we get the pleasure of meeting with Dr. Brianna Burgette. She is a faculty instructor at the University of St. Mary's here in Leavenworth, Kansas. How are you doing today, Dr. Burgette?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, the first thing I have to ask you is, how did you choose the field of athletic training?
That's a tough question. When I was younger, I wanted to be a nurse, and I actually played college sports, and I played sports my whole life. So I played college basketball, and I kind of fell in love with athletic training when I was there. And you have to apply pretty early when it was an undergrad program. Now it's a master's program. But when it was an undergrad program, you apply after your first semester. And I was like, well, I think I want to be a nurse. I just want to help people. And then I had an athletic trainer help me, and I was like, what better world could it be to help athletes? This is so cool. I get to be like the nurse of athletes is kind of what I took it as when I was younger. And I just kind of fell in love with athletic training, but I never had an athletic trainer in high school. I didn't even know what an athletic trainer was. I had no idea until I got to college, was playing basketball, and I never really got hurt, but we did some prevention care and conditioning and stuff like that with athletic trainers. And I was like, this is super cool. I feel like they help us, and what better way to help athletes? And so I applied, and I got into the program for my second semester of my freshman year. You kind of figure out if you get in the program or not, and you start your sophomore year. So I started athletic training, still not really having any idea what they do, except that they help people and they get to help athletes. And so I thought it was super cool, but I really didn't understand athletic training until I actually got into the program. And it was beyond just helping people or giving them water. There's so much more to athletic training than what I realized until I was in the midst of it.
Right, absolutely. So you kind of talked about, what you did and how you got into it a little bit. Now you've been a clinical athletic trainer out in the field, working with students and working with athletes. And now you are a professor at University of St. Mary's. So let's talk a little bit from the beginning about, your undergraduate at Southwest Baptist University, what that kind of program looked like, and what were the advantages for that school for you versus some other schools.
Okay. Well, so at the time, again, I didn't really know what athletic training was. I just wanted to play basketball. I really wanted to go to the University of Arkansas and do nursing. And then I got a basketball scholarship. So I ended up at Southwest Baptist University. And I was like, I have no idea what this school is, and I have no idea what I want to do, but here we are. So their program at the time was an undergraduate program. And now the profession has moved to a master's program. So I did 3 years in the athletic training program, and I was playing collegiate sports. So it was very time consuming for me. My day, I'll kind of explain what my day looked like a little bit. I would wake up at 5. I would go and work cross country at 6 a.m. If I wasn't doing conditioning for basketball, I was working somebody else's conditioning. And then I would go to school from 8 to around 2. And then we would have practice from 3 to 6. And then we would have some sort of study hall that we were required to go to. So I was going all day and all night. But that's all I knew, and it was good for me because it kept me busy, and my routine worked. So it was really hard to be an athlete and do the athletic training program, but it was doable for me at the time. With the master's program, most of the athletes have already got all of their years of eligibility out of the way, so you don't really have to worry about that anymore, but you get a lot of athletes that apply for the program because they think it's cool to help people. So I did that at Southwest Baptist. And again, I really didn't compare a lot of schools because my heart was set on going to the University of Arkansas. I was going to be in nursing, and then my whole world shifted when they're like, oh, you want to play basketball at SBU? Yes, I sure do. That's what I want to do. I want to play basketball. And then I fell in love with athletic training. My clinicals, we had to do a lot of different things. One thing that I thought I wanted to be at the time too was a physical therapist, and we had to shadow each profession, really. We did podiatry, we did orthodontist. We had to go to all these different sites, primary care, and one of our rotations was physical therapy. And I planned on going to PT school after I became an athletic trainer. But I had kind of a bad experience when I was shadowing. I had to help a lot of people with low back pain, and I felt like I couldn't really help them how I wanted to help them because they were elderly and it was a special population and they all had back pain. And I was like, I want something that I can get not gratification or satisfying, but I wanted to see them recover. So like when you see an athlete that has an ACL injury and you get to see them go back on the field, it's very rewarding. Not that you want the reward, but it's like, yes, I actually helped somebody. You can feel that. And whereas the setting that I was in PT, and it's not like that everywhere. I mean, you can get sports performance physical therapists, which is great, but just in my setting, I had a bad experience and I didn't feel like I could actually help them. And so I just never went to PT school after athletic training. And I love my profession. I'm glad that I'm an athletic trainer, but I kind of was like, oh, do I be a nurse? Oh, should I go into PT school? And now here I am with a doctorate in athletic training. So I feel like this is my passion. This is my career. But I have had thoughts of going elsewhere for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So after you were done playing basketball and got your undergraduate degrees, you went to the University of Texas at Tyler and
Yes.
got your master's in kinesiology and exercise science. How did you kind of choose that school after the program at Southwest Baptist?
At the time, again, I was like, I think I'm just going to get a job. And then this position came open. It was a GA position at the time. So they paid a portion of your schooling and a portion of your living. So they gave you a large stipend at the time. It was pretty large for considering what it was. And they placed you at a school and you got to be the head athletic trainer at the school. You could be at a college and be an assistant, but they flew me down to Tyler, Texas, which everybody should know where Tyler is because Patrick Mahomes is from White House. So it's kind of a big deal. He was in high school when I got my first job. I have to tell everyone that. And his little sister goes to the school that I was at. So it's kind of a big deal to me. I call it the home of Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And that's really what changed my life. It's where I kind of gained my wings, I like to say, and started flying. Undergraduate, it wasn't that I was enabled or I had mommy and daddy in my corner, but I had a support system. I was playing basketball. That's what I was doing, is I was playing basketball, and I knew I wasn't going to play professional or anything like that. But getting this GA position and moving from Bolivar, Missouri to Tyler, Texas, 10 hours away from my family, is really what made me who I am today. I wouldn't be where I'm at in my career or as a person if I didn't have to go and start and do everything on my own. So I actually went to school in the evenings to get my master's. I did online classes and face-to-face classes. The majority of mine were face-to-face because the way that kinesiology and exercise science was offered at the time, you had to do research projects. So we had to be in the lab. So my days there were probably even more crazy than when I was an undergrad student. Now I look back, I'm like, how did I do this? But you do it and you figure it out. But I taught in the morning, 4-year-olds. I taught preschool in the morning. And then I was an athletic trainer. I started my job at 2:00 in the afternoon and I was there until 7, around 6:50 actually, because I had to be at class at 7. And then I would go to class from 7 to 10. So my classes, I kind of worked around my schedule for athletic training when home games would be. So I was required to cover all varsity home games. I didn't like to leave out the middle school kids, so I tried to attend as much as I could for them as well. And I was the only one. So as a GA, you could have PRNs that would come fill in for you if you needed something. But football in Texas is like no other. So if anyone's experienced football in Texas, you understand football is life. And that's why Patrick Mahomes came from where he came from. But it's all about football. So you kind of work your schedule around that. And if you don't, then you probably shouldn't be in Texas. But it was a great experience. It was hot. I remember I had 100 days in a row above 110-degree weather. So I was coming from the Midwest and I go to that and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is too much. It's too hot. And the news is coming, like, how many water breaks do you have to take? And it's my first real job. And I'm like, I don't know. I learned that in school, but now I really have to figure it out. So I just had to figure out a lot of things on my own. And I'm forever grateful for the University of Texas at Tyler. In my first position at All Saints Episcopal School, it was a private school. and I still have connections and I network well with them still to this day. A lot of it is talking about the Chiefs, but it's super cool that I feel like we have that connection and
Right.
that they'll forever be part of my network. And I grew a ton going there.
Awesome. That's really cool. So then did you get jobs as your clinic or like varsity brands and your clinical athletic trainer before or after you got your doctorate?
Before I got my doctorate. So I had no idea I was going to get a doctorate. I had that GA position, and then I had this opportunity to be the athletic trainer for USA Cheer. I had never done cheer. I was never a cheerleader, but they're like, you can't let go of this opportunity. I had worked for Varsity Brands, so you travel around the world and do different cheer and dance competitions. I met a ton of friends. Everyone that was in the GA program did it because you just made money and you got to hang out and work these camps and you got to learn a lot because um, high level cheer is kind of a big deal and there's a lot of injuries. And so you got to be a part of a lot of things and it felt like a family. So varsity was kind of in charge of USA Cheer and who got hired, and they offered me the position because I was flexible. So I actually finished my contract out at as the GA, and then I took the job for USA Cheer for a few months. I was in Florida with them and did ICU World. So now it's an Olympic sport. They're kind of in the process of getting that accreditation, which is awesome. It's something that you don't think of it as a sport until you're actually in the middle of it and you're like, oh my gosh, these athletes are amazing. And so I did get to do that. And after that, I moved back to Kansas City. I don't have family here, but I moved to Kansas City because I had a lot of friends, and my boyfriend at the time, which is now my husband, was here. And so I came here and I applied for a clinical athletic trainer job at the University of Kansas Hospital health system now. And I didn't know anything about it. I was like, I don't know. I just need a job. Like now I have my master's and I kind of done my little thing with USA Cheer. Now it's time to grow up, is how I put it. It's time to grow up and get a job. And so I applied, and everyone was asking me, why do you not want to work in the field? Like, why do you not want to be a field athletic trainer? And I'm like, I have no idea, because I loved running my own program at the high school, and the relationships you build with the athletes is so amazing. They trust you, and to have students and athletes trust you there's no better feeling. And so when you build that rapport and that relationship, I really missed that aspect. But the clinic brought something so much different. So I got the clinic job, and I was actually the second clinical athletic trainer to ever be hired through the health system. And now it's one of the largest for clinical athletic trainers. I was 1 week behind the first one ever. And she still works there to this day with one of the orthopedic surgeons. So I took this job, and it was way different than what I learned. And I kind of felt like a nurse. So again, my heart was, oh, I want to be a nurse. And I'm like, here I am. I'm working in the clinic at the hospital, and I feel like a nurse, but I'm still helping these athletes. I'm still helping their mental health. I'm still educating them. I'm doing everything I learned, except it's a little bit different. Instead of seeing them go back on the field, I'm telling them, some bad news and some good news, but then I'm actually watching them get released and go back into some sort of sports performance or fundamental skills to get them back to play. So I did that for 7 years. I actually worked with the same physician everywhere I went. So he left and went to Mosaic, which got bought by St. Luke's. So I was with him my whole clinical athletic training career. I'm forever grateful for Dr. Randall Goldstein. He is a pediatrician and sports medicine doctor. And I like to say he taught me more in 7 years than I could have learned, I think, anywhere else. And the things you get to learn, like x-ray, imaging, radiology, stuff like that, is super cool because you don't really learn that in school. But now the way the curriculums are changing, we are teaching that, but I didn't get taught that in school. So now teaching something I didn't get taught, but I learned clinically, is really mind-blowing and cool to me because it's an application skill. And I think it's very important to have those skills to teach other students, because if you teach them lecture and in the book, it's easy to pass tests that way, but to go out and actually do it is a whole nother ballgame. And so if they can do it, the application part of it, it's really cool to see them have that aha moment, like, whoa, I just did that.
Right. Absolutely. So after you did your clinical athletic training, is that when you went over and started at St. Mary's, or how did that transition?
So I started my doctorate program at ATSU in 2017. So again, I don't know what I was thinking. I just had a child, and I was like, I think I'm going to start a doctorate program. Again, I don't know.
Right.
I'm married, starting the doctorate program. My husband is a coach, and I was like, let's do it. And I started it, and that's kind of, I had my aha moment in like world and like changing my whole mindset when I was at UT Tyler. But when I started my doctorate, my passion for my career shifted. Like, again, I was like, oh, should I do this forever? I have a family now. What do I really want to do? And then when I got into that doctor program, it's like this athletic training is what I want to do. And so my goal of going to get my doctorate was to become like a sports medicine director at a hospital or a healthcare system here in the city, and one day grow into that role. And then this position at the University of St. Mary came open, and I actually graduated June 1st of 2020, and I took this position August 1st, and you have to have a doctorate. So I got my degree, and then boom, it kind of fell into my lap, and this will be my second year. Today is our first day of class, actually, starting
Oh, wow.
here at the University of St. Mary. And I teach in the undergraduate program. So I teach exercise science, which is my master's. And then I teach in our graduate program, which is athletic training, which is my undergrad, and my doctorate is both in athletic training.
Okay. So as a professor, what does a typical day look like for you teaching wise?
So right now, I still do a lot of prepping and planning. You want to make sure that your time that you have in the classroom is all good minutes, is what I like to say. You're not wasting any time, and you're actually letting them do a little. I do a little bit of presentation or presenting through PowerPoint, and then we do a lot of lecture lab and then skills. So I kind of combine all my classes that way. I teach 5 courses a semester, so I teach every single day. And so I kind of teach prep, and kind of go like that. And then we do advising. I love advising here because we get to know the students a little better, kind of help them what you want to do with your career and get to that path. Because like I said, mine changed a lot. Even when I was in school, you don't really know what you want to do until you shadow those people and find what your passion is, and it might change. A lot of people change their degrees, and I think that's what I like most about athletic training moving to a master's, is that you can actually figure out, do I want to be an athletic trainer? Do I want to be a nurse? Do I want to be a physical therapist, occupational therapist? Whatever it may be, you have that chance to get your undergraduate degree and then be ready to move on to that next level of education, that higher education, and figure it out before you go through a program and you're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the undergraduate program there, what is it as a freshman coming in, somebody fresh out of high school, they're coming into St. Mary's, maybe they're an athlete or something, playing sports, they get interested in athletic training. What does the undergraduate program there look like?
So the great thing that I love most about St. Mary is that we have a couple of options for to get into the athletic training program. So if you come here as a freshman, we have an accelerated program that you can get your bachelor's degree and your master's degree, and you can complete them in around 5 years. So you'll go 3 years of your undergraduate program, which is called, we now moved it to health and sports science. It's the same curriculum as the exercise science students do. So another thing, when you're an exercise science major or health and sports science, you can set for other certifications. Like you can be a personal trainer. You can set for your CSCS, which is like a strength and conditioning coach. There's so many certifications that you can come out of this program and set for, and then have in addition to whatever you want to do after. So that program, you do 3 years of coursework. You can still do your sports. And actually our undergraduate program moved to 4 days a week. So Wednesdays are for St. Mary Experience Days. We do skill shops, lab work. We have a new cadaver lab, human anatomy lab here, that we get to do things on those days with them, and that our students get to use, undergrad and graduate students. So that's super cool, but you can complete that. So you would start technically your senior year, you would start your first year as an athletic training student. So you would come, you would have all your prerequisites done, and then you would apply for the program, and then you would start that your senior year, and then you would still graduate after your senior year, and then you would do 1 more year of coursework for athletic training, and then you would graduate with your master's. Or you can do the traditional program, which is 4 years of undergrad and then 2 years of master's. You can do it that way as well. Some people that are athletes, they want to play all of their years, or maybe they have like to redshirt, a medical redshirt, and they have extra years. So they just want to go ahead and do the traditional 4+2 program. Transfers sometimes do that. It really just depends. We kind of have a good mixture of both on the accelerated program and on the 4+2.
And I know you had mentioned your new cadaver lab, something that you had shared with me previously. You also have athletic training day coming up.
Yes.
Would you like a little bit about that? And I'm going to share the link to that in the video description for our students and any other students that might be interested in signing up for that.
Yes, awesome. So our athletic training day this year is going to be November 3rd, and we have Dylan Wilson, the manager of the sports medicine for Kansas City Major League Baseball Urban Youth Academy, which is affiliated with the Royals. He will be our speaker this year, which is awesome. He'll give a lot of insight on athletic training and how you can relate it to the professional world. One thing that we try to incorporate here is your clinical experiences. Some people in athletic training, they want to work in the clinic, as I did. They want to be an educator. They want to work in the industrial setting, like Amazon. Lots of athletic trainers work at Amazon. They make pretty good money working at Amazon. Performing arts, you can work in performing arts, the military. So athletic training has all these emerging settings. So orthopedic specialty, and all these different ones, and professional. So we try in our program to give you a little piece of all of those. You might get put at a high school one semester and then a college the next semester, and then you'll get some clinical experience as well as some professional experience. If that's what you desire, we will set you into those clinicals and let you apply for those positions and hope. Like we have soccer, we have baseball, we have football, we have hockey, all the different professional sports. Kansas City has them all. So we're lucky to be able to have that, except for NBA. Maybe it'll come on, Patrick Mahomes. We have the opportunity to place those students in those places. So it's cool that we have somebody with professional experience that will come and talk at AT Major Day. We tell a little bit more about our program. You get to network with people around you, and then we get to go. There will be a human anatomy lab tour. So you guys will actually get to see that lab and how it works in our program and what we get to do here as part of that. Because a lot of people don't get that experience unless they're in a doctorate program or med school. So it's an experience like no other.
Absolutely. So now you've been in the industry for a little bit over 10 years. What are some of the career goals you have set for yourself with developing your athletic training program at St. Mary's?
So we do want to continue to build our program and the students that we send out. We do have all of our students have jobs after they have been through our program. So that's one thing to kind of brag about, is that we do a great job of networking. We want to continue to build that network. One thing that athletic training is moving to is specialty. So like I talked about a second ago, military, pediatrics, we're kind of going into this medical model of specialties and what specialty you want to be in athletic training. So one of my career goals is to set for the orthopedic specialty exam, which is through our board of certification, how we get certified as athletic trainers. They just came out with a specialty exam. So I hope to set for that next semester and then be one of the first specialists in our profession as an orthopedic specialist, because I do have that clinical background. So I can go ahead and set for that exam. And that is one of my career goals.
Nice. That's awesome. So thinking about, yourself back in high school or early college when you didn't really know what you wanted to do or what path you were looking at other than potentially nursing. What's something that you wish you would have known in high school or college that would help you with your career now?
I wish I would have taken more time to shadow other professions. Even if you're like, I don't think I like this, go shadow an accountant so you know what it's like. You have time in the summer normally, even if you have a job, maybe it's an internship. Take those internships, take those shadowing experiences, and kind of figure out and mold you into what you think that you want to do. Because again, I didn't have an athletic trainer in high school. I had no idea what an athletic trainer was. And maybe if I would have had the experience or been a part of one earlier in my career, or as a high school student, I might have fell in love with it sooner. I'm not sure. Maybe I would have chose a different profession. I have no idea. But I do think that as high school students, it's really important to get involved in the things that you want to do and try to figure out. Because a lot of people are like, I want to be a doctor. Well, do you know what it's like to be a doctor? Maybe not. Maybe your dad's a doctor or you want to be a lawyer. So I always say just find those people that will open up. It's hard with COVID during the pandemic right now to get those experiences, but find somebody that will let you shadow or kind of just do interviews about what is the job actually like. I can read online, I can see job qualifications, but is it really something I want to do?
Right, absolutely. So let's look at, if you like and if you dislike this. So if you dislike fill in the blank, then being an athletic trainer is not for you.
If you dislike blood,
okay.
That's probably one. If you dislike anatomy because you're going to deal with bones and muscles and tendons and ligaments, that's your entire job. And so if science isn't one of your strengths, you should probably work a little bit harder in those classes if you want to do anything in the healthcare model.
Absolutely. Now let's flip that and change it to if you like blank, then being an athletic trainer is the right career path for you.
Okay. If you like seeing people do what they love and getting back to what they love. So if you've seen somebody get injured or have mental health or a concussion, and then watching them, helping them get back to what they love is so satisfying. So if you like to see people do what they love, it's rewarding to be in this profession. And you can't say that about every profession because a lot of times you don't get to see that or experience that.
Absolutely. And do you have any books that you might recommend to a high school or early college student that might be interested in getting into athletic training?
Foundations of Athletic Training, it's a huge textbook, but you can find it on Amazon and it kind of will take you through all of the aspects of athletic training. And I know different schools teach like taping. And I always say, if you think taping is boring, that's not all athletic training is. If you think taping isn't boring, then maybe the college setting is perfect for you because you're going to tape hundreds of athletes all the time, especially in the football setting. So I always say, don't limit what athletic training is to hydration and taping because it's so much more than that.
Good. I like that. What's a product as an athletic trainer that you feel like somebody could use on a daily basis that would be a really good tool to help them with their job duties?
Great question. Tape. Tape is always the easiest one. We use things like goniometers to measure range of motion. We use pin lights to do concussion evaluations. That's a big one. That's something that stays in my pocket. Gauze will stay in your pocket at all times because anyone could be bleeding at any moment. Those are probably, and scissors. You got to get stuff off. So whether it's tape or whether you're cutting through clothing because it's an emergency, you have to have scissors on board.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely something that athletic trainer would have on them all the time. And the last one I just have is kind of just a fun question. What's a mantra or quote that you can kind of work by?
Well, I have one that probably not everyone likes, but I always say it's not always what you know, but it could be who you know. So I always say don't limit your network. You want to build your network. No matter what profession you're in, your network matters and your grades do matter. So don't think of like, well, it's not always what you know. You do need to know the essentials, but building your network and getting those people around you to support you, your support system, will take you a long ways because I didn't think I was going to make it through grad school. I sure didn't think I was going to make it through my doctorate program, having a little infant and a college coach as a husband. But your support system matters. And so make sure you build people around you that'll stay positive and help push you through those moments where you don't know, like football season for high school athletic trainers or college athletic trainers is hard. And you have to have people around you that can help push you, and your network will help get you those jobs, your references, and your resources.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for spending 30 minutes with us today talking about what you do in your career and your school that you teach at. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.